Do you feel like your calves are doing all the work and always tight and your glutes aren't joining in? Well, I've got 6 tips that I want you to try to see if we can get more glutes and less calf. Now, tip number 1 is to think about your posture and how you are shifting your weight over your feet, because that's going to dictate how much of your calf gets loaded constantly versus how much you're more balanced over your feet and ankles with your pelvis. So if you have a slight forward lean to your posture, meaning just catch yourself during the day and think, where is my weight on my feet? Is my weight more forward into the balls of my feet, or is my weight more back in my heels? And try to figure out where that balance is. So if your weight tends to sit more forward, then your calves are constantly on because they're having to push so that you don't fall over forward. Because if your hips are shifted forward on your ankles, then your calves are always having to work during the day. So if you simply think about shifting backwards so that you're balanced over your feet and ankles, you should feel your calves kind of let go a little bit. So if you want to try that with me, go ahead and give it a try and see how it feels for you. So as you shift forward, do you feel your calves kind of light up a little bit and work? And as you shift back, do you feel how your calves take a break and your weight is more balanced? So you're just more balanced over your feet and ankles. Now, one thing that can be a big driver for that balance is rib cage. So if your ribs are thrust forward, then that is going to push you more forward into your posture. So one thing to work on is breathing into your back, being able to shift back through your pelvis, and we're going to work on that in a little bit. The next thing I want you to try is to find a hill that you can walk up, and I want you to think about your glutes pushing you up the hill instead of your calves. Now, we're going to go through a couple tips to help with this, but one thing you can simply do is bring intention to that as you go to push up that big hill, or maybe you're even doing some more incline hiking and you feel like you're just stepping up boulders even. I want you to think about pushing from your glute to step up versus pushing from your calf, because where you send that intention helps with where the work is done. Now, your next tip is a warm-up for the next time you go out for a walk or you go hiking. So one great thing you can do for a warm-up is to place your heel on a wall, and you can think about pressing up through your glute. And if you want, you can even dorsiflex your ankle a little bit, bringing your toes off the wall to make sure you're not contacting, because when those toes are in the wall, you can really get a good calf push off, which has its place. But for this particular exercise, I want you to think about just pushing through your heel, pushing up through your glutes. I want you to get a nice little posterior tilt going, because that's really going to help those glutes turn on. And then you can reach up with that opposite arm, driving from that knee that's driving up, and you can think about breathing. So big inhale into your back, big exhale, getting out all that air, thinking about driving up with those glutes. So this is a great warm-up exercise for you to do before you go out for your walk, your run, or your hike. Try paying attention to your head and neck and your tongue positioning, because that can affect what's happening down your entire kinetic chain. So one tip that I like to use for people when they go for a walk or hike is just to think about perking up a little bit. So you're going to think about coming up a little bit taller, and if you tend to be one of those open mouth breathers, this is where I want you to think about closing your mouth, suctioning your tongue to the roof of your mouth, like you're going to cluck, except holding it. Slide it back a little bit, and that'll help you perk your head up. And what that will do when you change that tongue positioning is, if you tend to sit forward, open mouth, and relaxed jaw, forward head posture, that tends to make your hips sink forward, gives you a little bit more kyphosis. You've got more curves going on. Bottom can tuck under to follow. So if you think about perking up your head, that will automatically help you shift back without having to do a lot of excessive posture things to hold stiffness and think about moving around. Okay, so think about perking up that head a little bit, maybe adjusting that tongue positioning, try nose breathing, and see if that doesn't change where you are feeling the work. Now, when I up the ante and I'm doing a little bit more cardio than, say, I could nose breathe in and out, I'll try to inhale through my nose, exhale through my mouth. And that still really helps me keep that kind of perked up posture, helps replenish that nitric oxide from oxygen coming in through your nose, and it can help. Now, when the cardio gets too high, obviously you might have to switch into mouth breathing, but we can all keep working on our cardio and what zone we're staying in, and promote that nasal breathing, especially when we're doing things like just going for a walk. Okay, so I have a fun exercise that I want you to try the next time you have a set of stairs, and I want you to try to walk up the stairs on your heels. So your toes are obviously down on the ground, but you're not pushing off your toes to walk up the stairs. So your heel is contacting the stair and you're pushing up through your glute to walk up the stairs. So give this exercise a try because it's really easy to do, and most of us have access to some stairs at some point during our day. And so give it a try, see if you can push up through your glutes and instead of coming up on your toes to walk up the stairs. And then this can be a little glute exercise that you add in during your day. Now, remember how we talked about that weight shift over our feet? We talked about that forward body positioning, and some of that can relate back to back tightness. So if you have excessive back tightness, that shoves you forward. That shoves your rib cage forward, it pushes your hips forward. And so one thing that we can do to help make the glutes more available for showing up is we can work on loosening that back tightness. So if you want to try to give me a PRI full squat, this is one of my favorite exercises for helping that forward shifted pelvis and helping to loosen up those paraspinals and really promote that back breathing. You're going to want to relax into this posture balanced over your feet and your ankles. And I want you to think about inhaling into your back. Arms are relaxed. They're simply just holding you there. And you can really use this exercise to help loosen up your back, and it helps you shift your hips back. So sometimes I'll have somebody do this exercise and then they'll immediately get up and they'll be like, whoa, I feel like I can stand better without having to do extra effort, right? And that's the goal. The goal with any exercise is to help you be able to make these changes to feel better and to move better without having to hold robotic stiffness or push yourself trying to hold particular postures. You want to get there naturally so that you're not fighting your body, you're working with it. So try all of those tips and see if they help you recruit your glutes more than your calves the next time you go for a walk or run or hike.